Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Crime with Kylie podcast. I just want to pop in here and give you guys a few updates on the case of 12-year-old JOCELYN NUNGARAY, who was horrifically found to be sexually assaulted, or at least that's what it's looking like, as well as strangled on Monday, June 17th of 2024. In case you guys missed the last episode, I would suggest going back and pausing this one and going and giving that one a listen and a watch, because that one has all of the context. This is simply just a follow-up with updates. Without further ado, let's get into the updates. So on Thursday, June 20th of 2024, 26-year-old Franklin Jose Pena Ramos, as well as 22-year-old Johan Jose Martinez Rangel were arrested and charged with capital murder in JOCELYN's case. And let's go over briefly what exactly capital murder is, because that is significant in this case. So capital murder is essentially first-degree murder under special circumstances. It's called capital because it only has two possible penalties: capital punishment, the death penalty, and life in prison without the possibility of parole. So essentially, a lot of people were excited about this at first because that means that Johan and Franklin potentially had the death penalty on the table, and many people want that. Completely understandable that they want that. But here's the thing, at this current point in time, and I'm talking Tuesday, June 25th of 2024, the prosecution cannot pursue the death penalty. This is because sexual assault has not been proven in her case. Now, we are like 99% sure that sexual assault tragically occurred. They had undressed JOCELYN from her waist down, they took her pants, her underwear off, and they dumped her in the bayou. We also know that they were under the bridge with her for 2 hours, okay? And it did not take 2 hours to strangle her, and I'm assuming that they weren't just talking. So the Texas District Attorney's Office that is prosecuting this case are pretty sure that sexual assault occurred due to circumstantial evidence. Now, they're either going to have to continue to prove that in court through circumstantial evidence, or what I believe they're doing is they're waiting on the sexual assault exam results to come back in, because that will say for certain whether or not JOCELYN NUNGARAY was sexually assaulted. Essentially, what I'm saying is that capital murder charge that both of them already have just need to be upgraded. So once they're upgraded, if sexual assault is proven, then the death penalty will be on the table. But right now, Monday, June 25th at around 1:44 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the death penalty is not on the table, and they are currently just facing life in prison without the possibility of parole. But anyways, on Monday, June 24th of 2024, Franklin Jose Pena Ramos, age 26, was seen in court for the first time. For his first court appearance, or what should have been his first court appearance, he waived his right to actually be there. Johan did the same thing. So this is technically the second time that they're going to court, but the first time that they are actually appearing in court. Now, from what we currently know, Franklin did not admit to any sexual assault, but he did say that he kissed JOCELYN. He also said that Johan was the more physically aggressive one with her. And what he said about Johan being more physically aggressive, it turns out that that's looking to be true. So today, Tuesday, June 25th, Johan was in court. And what came of that is that Johan did not admit to any sexual assault, so once again, we are still waiting on those exam results. But what was revealed is that Johan had looked up on his phone ways to leave the country immediately following JOCELYN's death. He also had told someone, allegedly his boss, that he did something really bad and that someone ended up dead. Now, we know he for sure said that to someone, but it's been on more like subreddits and like maybe not super, like it hasn't been confirmed yet that it was his boss, but that's what it's looking like. And his boss is allegedly who reported Johan to the police. Johan is the same one of the two men who tried to jump off of the balcony when the police came to arrest them at their shared apartment. It was also said during court that Johan was the one who tied JOCELYN up and threw her in the bayou to, and I quote, erase DNA evidence. Now, aside from the fact that one of them strangled her, I'm assuming what he meant by DNA evidence was the assault. And the last major update that came of this is that when Johan was arrested, he had bite marks and claw marks on his body, okay? And those are presumably, like, we are 99% sure that those came from JOCELYN fighting back. JOCELYN's mom, Alexis, was not lying when she said that she knew her daughter fought back against her attackers. It is very clear that she did. And there's no mention of Franklin having bite marks or claw marks on his body. So it really does seem right now that Johan was the more physically aggressive one in this attack. Now, in case you missed it, the two men are from Venezuela and they entered the United States illegally in March of 2024. This was according to a statement Friday from the U.S. Department of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, ICE. Okay, so both of them were caught by U.S. Border Patrol near El Paso, Texas. They actually arrested Martinez Rangel, or, Johan, on March 14th of 2024, and then they arrested Franklin on March 28th. Both were released with orders to appear in court at a later date. Both Johan and Franklin are now under immigration holds by federal authorities, meaning they would remain in custody even if they could post bond. So that $10 million bond doesn't matter. Let's be honest here, there's no way they would be able to pay it, but even if they hypothetically could, that would not matter. Prosecutors are alleging that the men took off her pants, they tied her up, and they killed her before throwing her body in the bayou. And it does not appear that they knew JOCELYN NUNGARAY. Okay, so JOCELYN went to the 7-Eleven. We know that she snuck out at some point between 10 p.m. and 12 in the morning, and it's looking to me more like the timeline would be she snuck out between 10 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. because she was seen by a 7-Eleven employee behind a storage unit at 11:30 p.m. And the employee knew that because that is the time that they got off of work. So they were leaving work and they saw JOCELYN at 11:30 p.m. And that would have been technically still June 16th, Father's Day of 2024. So she was at the 7-Eleven and the two men, Johan and Franklin, approached her for directions. Okay, she was not meeting up with them. She was not being like a bad kid. I'm sick of people online saying 12 is too young to sneak out. And it's yeah, some kids make bad, poor decisions, but she just talked to her boyfriend on the phone. She wasn't even meeting up with him. It literally seemed like she was just grabbing something from the 7-Eleven. And then those two men approached her for directions and they led her to the bridge where they took her life. So, I'm not one to victim blame JOCELYN. I'm not one to victim blame her mom. Johan and Franklin are the two monsters responsible for this. In my opinion, all of the blame should be on them. And honestly, on the U.S. Border Patrol for letting them go. Because they should not have been let go with a notice to appear in court. I don't even know, it's not been revealed yet how they were even able to get an apartment together or jobs. Or even they spent the entire afternoon and day at a bar, at a very public bar in Texas. So I'm did they not have to show their IDs? They wouldn't have had IDs. I have a lot of questions in this case, and I'm curious to know what your guys' questions are. Maybe I can answer some of those questions. I'm hoping to, but I will be making multiple updates on this. But yeah, for now, those are the most recent updates on the case of 12-year-old JOCELYN NUNGARAY, and I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, that you are also hoping that she and her mother and her family get justice for her soon. I will see you guys next time.